gym, like, because, you know, you come in here, do serious shit at work. Like, for me to shut off at night, weirdly, I watch Spanion.
Yeah.
But I don't know why. It's just, like, non-offensive. I don't have to think. I can just enjoy it, you know?
It's a weird thing, hey? Like, it's a personality thing.
And then I was watching your Jay Malcoon thing
Yeah.
as well. I don't know why.
watch.
It's just a bit of nostalgia, a bit of, like, you can relate to it, but it's like you don't have to think about anything. You just kind of enjoy it, you know? That's my
I found a bit of a whim there. Like I figured out over time, I've kind of trial and error, you know, like, and I've done stuff like big DJs. Like I did a guy called Rainer Zolvenau. Guy's huge and just did not relate. And I was like, what the fuck, how? And then I figured it out. People want me to talk about shit they already know about, one. So they want me to talk about like, okay, well, this is a strip club, but this is what happens behind those doors. Yeah, like, or this is a nightclub and this is what the door girls do. You know, like, it doesn't matter what it is. They want like their bare back or like just they want to see what they already probably know and they want to hear me talk about it. Like that's basically what it is. Like that's the answer. So I'm like, now I've gotten real good fucking roll like the last 3 months where I'm like, that's all they want to know. Like just want to know.
So true.
Yeah, they want me to say things A, they know, or B, say things they don't know. Like they're the two things. So with the guests, I don't need some big name. Yeah. I can have a guy who was a bouncer in the 90s. As long as he's got some crazy stories about the 90s and being a bouncer, people are going to watch it.
I think what we're finding at the moment.
Yeah, I would say we struggle a little bit sometimes because I think you get a certain subset of the audience that just want the kick-on stories.
Yeah.
I did fucking 6 packets and I was munted and like, you know what I mean? Like they want that.
Chatted to this.
But then there's a whole other
chatting about
subset.
nothing,
Like
Danny.
we don't love talking about that because fuck, like
Kick
it's
on,
boring,
kick on.
you know? Like every cunt can fucking kick on.
Kick
We
on.
like
What about from here? Kick on, kick on. Don't, just ignore me. I'm doing a mic test.
Yeah, I got it.
Kick on, kick on. I don't just sit here saying kick on always. Hey, mate. No.
Yeah, that's good.
All good? Yeah. I can't tell what it sounds like. How are you? Oh, very formal.
that went really well. Well done. That was good.
I always get intrigued when they come out of their business meetings. And,
It was good. It was good. It's all this
Oh,
like
yeah.
serious mental health programs for kids. And then we're here talking to fucking Danny Grant.
and that is
4
what we
minutes
are.
later, it's just
In a
like the
nutshell.
art of switching off. Is that road recording? All right. So we're kind of on.
Jamie, if I can already hear, I'm going to put that, like, you know the song?
A weird spot with this.
Yeah, FTS.
Put it on when you walk in.
Oh, shit. Don't forget to talk about that. There's really no structure here, by the way.
That's good.
Just keen to talk some shit and say good day.
It's funny, man, because like that, there's the amount of people that like
Right,
bring it up from all different worlds of that, seeing that clip. It's like wild to me because it's like a lot of people were just like, they were more like watching and going, what the fuck, you box? I was like, yeah. Because I didn't do anything beforehand. I didn't promote it. I just rocked up and did it.
I was pretty unaware to your point, like that was happening until I saw a clip. Like, holy
After.
shit, he's
Yeah.
he's
Everybody
doing
said,
this.
everyone said it.
See, I did one on loss. So I came out, so that when I saw your one,
My trainer literally was like, bro, it was like when he like got up there, I'm like, fuck yeah. And he's like, calm the fuck down. I was like,
I did that gas in the first round.
Went all in for the knockout. What was the training process for that? Like, did you have
so
to,
I had boxed before. I've boxed before. So I used to box back in the day. And they effectively, I told the guy, like I was like, so he'd had a few fights in like Fred Brophy's tent. He'd been training. He was no stranger to the ring. So they're like, do you want to fight? I'm like, bro, I used to fight 12 years ago, like amateurs.
Yeah.
So I'm like, up to you. Yeah, like if you want to still fight me. He's like, yeah, easy. I was like, cool. So we were the most experienced, me and him.
Yep.
And then for me, I always train. Like I still train twice a week minimum for mental health, really.
Yep.
And then basically when we went in, I just had to turn it up, but it was fucking hard because I was doing all like these different things. Like my best mate got married and this, that, and the other. And I basically was like rolled in and I was worried about my fitness, but I reckon I could have done 6 rounds. Like I couldn't have gone better, if that makes sense. Like everything went to plan, which is not often the case.
that's nuts.
Yeah.
It's kind of the way you were just describing that to me is a good example of how I've sort of come to know you and how things have kind of happened in your life. It's like you just said, I've trained my whole life. I had no idea. There's all these layers you just peel back and you've done so much with your life. And I think that was part of the appeal and going, I haven't seen Danny for a while. We haven't actually sat down and properly chewed the fat, but like you, by design, you're everywhere. You do a lot of media, but I'd love to actually go back and talk about how this actually happened for you, even way back before you were doing nightclub stuff and this is your lifestyle. Was it Bert Newton who used to do that? He used to do This Is Your Life.
That was the best fucking show.
We're bringing it back.
As like a 10-year-old, I used to watch that shit and like tear up, going, like, this is mint. They bring out like the old best mate from high school kind of thing.
Yeah.
That shit was sick.
And like sitting in the audience, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's me. I'm Mario.
360s in the back.
Tell us
Matty.
about, where'd you grow up and what was that like?
So I guess my story, being able to control chaos and being so good at fucking absolute fires all the time, probably starts as a kid. So as a kid, parents had me when they were like 18 and divorced quickly after. My dad kind of randomly was in a real bad car accident. He got hit by a car on a motorbike and died a bunch of times. He's alive though. And so when I was growing up there, he was sort of, I don't even remember it. It's weird as like the only thing I blocked out in my whole life is this period when my dad got hit by the car. So, and I was old enough. Like I see photos and like I remember things around it, but I don't remember him being in hospital.
How old were you?
Like 4.
Yeah, wow.
And then so he comes out of that, and then parents get divorced. Single mom living in commission home in Glennie. We sort of meets a dude. Drugs is a really big thing in my family. Like at the time, they were young and probably addicted to narcotics and whatnot. Mum's in and out of rehab, living in with my nan and pa. Very much like that kind of, the kind of age-old tale of like a commission kid. So in and out of different homes, changing and chopping. Whoever can take care of me at that time. A lot of my memories are like surrounded by people who were committing crimes. A lot of my uncles were in jail. If they weren't in jail, a lot of them were drug addicts. So that was my young childhood life. Moved to the country. Life sort of calms down a little bit. And then life's mad. Like living in the country is fucking sick when you're a kid. So from like, I don't know what it was, 7 till 10, just like venture around the bush, doing sword fights with sticks, like playing footy, just swimming in dams, all that sort of stuff. And then 10, the sort of drugs start to creep back into my family life. And then from about 13, it sort of controls it. So like where myself, I'm drinking and shit. Like I was like, I reckon I smoked weed before I even started high school. And that wasn't like a hidden thing. I remember, this is wild, but I was thinking about it literally 2 days ago. I remember my mum asking for a fucking like a razor, and she like opened up my bag and there was a 3 for in there, and I was in year 7. And now I've got kids on my bed. If I opened up my kid's backpack and there was a 3 for in there, I'd be like, what the actual fuck? Like I probably didn't even have pubes. And we'd ripped it off a mate's dad's plant. Yeah. And so, but the fact that I knew what it was in year 7 and like I had intention to take it, still was beyond, like it's wild to me. But I guess I was very mature at my age. And then myself got involved in alcohol and drugs really, really early. And then again, growing around with all these other people committing crimes and stuff like that. So I was like, oh, I'll just do this. Like, so we were doing shit back then, not to incriminate myself, but we'd go rob like footy clubs and stuff. And then we would take the piss and then we'd sell it at school. And then we would have all these like hustles, and I was selling cigarettes and, obviously ripping weed if I found out where that was and selling that. So entrepreneurial, I was like sort of living in that life very much early on. And I was definitely a bad kid. Like I think if anyone, most people I went to school with, especially that sort of 13 to 16, the way I've turned out, I don't think anyone expected. Like I think they probably thought I would be more likely to go to jail. And then about 16, everything kind of builds up and I get booted. I go through a whole mental health battle, which I don't know if I've ever told you about.
No.
I ended up in a loony bin because I thought I was Jesus because I was smoking so much weed.
Right.
And I got locked up for like 3 months in it's called Marion Drummond ward in Austin Hospital in fucking...
I was about to say, I know the one, but I don't.
Yeah. It was like you go up there. It was like almost like a horror movie, like a big hill in Heidelberg, and then there was this old as fuck building. Yeah, very much looked like a haunted house. And
it's a strange area, isn't it? It does feel like you're in the set of a horror movie. In that, so there's the hospital, then it's the place you're talking about. It's a strange like little area there. Yeah, eerie.
But I sort of loved it at the same time because it was like more normal than the life I was living at home. Yeah, which is strange.
This is interesting on this. Like to interject for a second, but. Working with kids in out-of-home care, if I've gone through trauma backgrounds, there's a lot of kids I work with in juvie who would actually seek out, and it's happening now, seek out juvie because of that, exactly what you just said. It was this stability thing. It provides some calming to the chaos. Routine.
I didn't hate it. Like I was like, when I was in there, same thing. I'm like, wow, I know that I'm going to eat. There's no drunk adults around. Yeah, like I don't have to deal with shit. There's no fighting because I used to fight a lot too. I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. So I was like, it was like a bit of a respite. And I remember when I came out, I was on like Gactyl and all this shit. Yeah. Effectively, I had to stop smoking weed, and then I stopped thinking I was Jesus. And then I then went back in because I had to change my meds, and I was like, this is like a holiday. Like it just felt like it was so much better than the life I was living.
Yeah, right.
So I went through that, and then I eventually got off medication because I was like, what's my options? I hate this. Like I've got no personality. I'm just tired all the time. can't go to school, I can't work, like I'm fucked.
Yeah.
What's the options? And they're like, fitness is one. This is early days. So you're talking early 2000s probably. And I just went straight into that. Started doing gym, started running, started doing everything I possibly could. And then I moved to the city. So that's when I left from the country, went to a place called Glen Waverley or Vermont South.
Yep.
And then I was living with auntie and uncles and stuff. Got my shit together to an extent, but I still was like old habits die hard. I was still doing all the bad shit with like other kids because I think you're attracted to them. Because like it's even now, like I've said this to my wife, like I find it easier to get along with someone because I live in a good area now and my kids go to a good school and I've built the life that I always wanted for them. But I find it hard to socialize with the people that the life that I've built for them. If that makes sense. So,
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, mate.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost, you can empathise with them and understand them a little bit better. People who've had similar experiences, I mean, I'd say it's a fairly normal thing.
Yeah.
But that whole, do you get the imposter syndrome stuff? Say if I was to go to a nice little party in Brighton, I'd be terrified within my own skin.
Yeah. My ones, I just feel like, I don't know, like I think I'm going to say the wrong thing. Yeah. And so I'm like, I'm never associated with these sort of people. Yeah. So I'm like, I want my kids to, yeah. And like, but I don't want to. So when I'm there, like I'll get along with someone who's been in jail way better than someone who has done a master's in accountants. Yeah. Like, so I'm more like, I won't talk. Like I freeze up almost because I'm like, what happens if I say, because I don't know how to talk in front of those things. Because I was used to like moving around and like, you know, as you said, auntie and uncles and changing and adapting. But because of that, which goes full circle, I think the reason why I became such a good talker and such a good sort of, I guess, promoter and event guy or publican in a sense, like a new modern age one, is I was really good at adapting quickly because I was always moving and changing situations and nothing was like, I played football in one area, I worked in another area, I went to multiple different schools, I moved once every year. Like I didn't really have any foundation. So I had to like get in, figure out what the tone was, play along. Yeah, like really, really quickly. And
Chameleon.
I think, chameleon.
I actually wrote that down here because I grew up in community housing myself in Preston for 6 or 7 years after I moved here from Bosnia. And I think for me, what I wrote down is that it made me incredibly perceptive. Like I'm able to walk into a room, read the room in a second and go, he's a good bloke, he's a shit bloke, that's a threat. I want to talk to that person. And it made me really good at like diffusing people and getting along with people. And that's probably, I think, you know, I also ended up in nightclubs as well. Like that's a big skill in nightclubs, right? Just being able to read the room, know who you need to talk to, know who the cool kid is in the room, know who the trouble is. And I think you get that from those upbringings.
Is that a safety thing? Do you think
100%
it's a safety thing for
100%,
sure.
yeah.
So you walk into a room, you don't know people, and straight away, like that guy's got. It's like an energy. Like you don't understand it, but you can pick up on the energy. And still to this day, I do it. Like I do it in micro doses. Again, working back on the door. My job used to be I used to not all do that to the guards. So I'd see someone, I could tell. Like their energy was, I'd be like, there'd be no excuse. I just didn't have a good feeling about it. But I only had 5 seconds to figure that out.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, I was right. But I feel like that's from learning and growing and having to adapt. And especially when you're a young kid and you don't know where you're going to live next. Yeah. So I had a garbage bag full of shit. So I legitimately would be like, like you got to leave for whatever reason. It wasn't always that I was doing the wrong thing or whatever. It was that things changed. Like one of my aunties was having a baby, so my room was not available anymore. So I'd move and I was sleeping on futons and sleeping in offices. And so because of that, I was like, okay, well now what do I got to, what do they do? They drink a little bit. Okay, I'm going to drink with them. The other they don't drink, so I'm not going to talk about drinking. Yeah. So you have to change and adapt really quickly without having to explain. And then now I'm older, I don't have to. Yeah. So I'm actually like the biggest extrovert, introvert in the world. Like I'll go out and I'm fucking like, yeah. And then I'm back home for 6 days, just like, sitting there, yeah. And I think like even like editing videos and all that sort of stuff, I think it's good for me. Like distracts me. I'm able to sit there in my own time. And but definitely growing up rough, I think that they're very, very often kids who are entrepreneurial have similar like backgrounds. And I think it's because you're able to adapt, change, pivot, and you're not scared of any risk. Like the risk is going back to that life is, you know, if I go 2-3 steps above that, it's still better than what I was doing. So I all the time I'm like, what I got to lose? You know, like I've lived that. I've done lived in a fucking spare office of someone's house and not had to eat and skip meals. Like, can't be that bad. It's not gonna be as bad as that. So you start your risk kind of acceptance becomes so much better.
Yeah, right. Sorry.
That risk thing I find super, super interesting because I think for people that if you come from not much, I won't say nothing, but if you come from not much, I think you want a lot more than others, right? So I find kids that, in my experience, have been the most entrepreneurial, as you said, or the biggest go-getters are the kids that came from nothing because they've never experienced, you know, a trip to Europe every year on holiday. They didn't get that. So now they're like they work really hard and then as soon as they get some cash, they fuck off to Europe, right? Like it's just like that's what drives them.
Yep.
But like, I think for me, one thing that I wish people understood a little bit more that in Australia, for most people, I won't say all, for most people, the biggest risk you can take entrepreneurially will end you up sleeping in at your parents' house. Like that's probably the worst that can happen, right? You bankrupt, you go sleep in your parents' couch, right?
Yep.
That's fucking amazing.
I think about
should
that
be
all the time too.
Every reason to take every single risk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
Worst case scenario is that you still get to eat 3 meals a day. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's almost hard not to unless you've got some severe mental health. It's like, well, realistically, you can get a job at Safeway. And during COVID, I did, and I worked in a bottle shop, and I'm like, okay, fuck, I'm still paying the bills. Yeah, like
Yeah.
Australia's was such a it's such
Tell
a
me
lucky
about that.
place.
That's interesting.
So when COVID all hit, we lost everything straight away. But this is the first part was like so daunting and scary. And I guess it's probably like a good kind of conversation to have. But when I was already thinking that maybe I wanted to get out of clubs. So at the time, I don't even know how old I was, say 35. And I was like, I'm getting a bit over this. It's not really fulfilling me the same way. I remember being in a venue, 1,000 people plus, and I'm like, this used to be my dream. And I'm like, getting no emotion from this. Like even as the crowd was throwing it back, I'm like, I've lost that loving feeling in a sense. And so I was already thinking about it, but I was too scared. And I guess like I was good at it, you know, like I was doing 5,000 to 10,000 people through venues every single week. I had contracts and well respected in the scene. So I was like, what else can I do? Like I'm sort of boxing in this industry. And then when COVID hit, everything changed. I was like, what am I going to do? I'm fucked. And at the time, it would just become off the back of summer. And 2019, Club World started to collapse a little bit. So I'd had a few big hits. So I built a bar on a side of a lake in Scoresby, and that had just opened. So I lost all that cash straight away. And then the other one was I did a BBQ festival, it was called. So it was like a craft beer and barbecue festival in Bundalong. And I had like Shannon Knoll there. I did like 3,500, but the deal I cut was shit. So I lost like 10 or 15 grand. So I'd had a couple of losses in that 4 weeks prior to COVID happening, which I normally would just make up, you know, some other way, shape or form, but they were gone. Or there was artists gone and people couldn't pay money and no one had cash. So I lost a lot of like my summer income that I relied on because that's sort of how you work in club world. You make it like you grow hay when it rains. Yeah, whatever that fucking saying is. But then, so when that happened, I worked in Melbourne markets a bit, and then they're sort of saying, look, there'll be a small amount. And everyone's like, well, you got paid, but $700, man, when you were making $7 grand, doesn't really tickle the sides. Yeah, I say everyone's like, God, don't whinge, you got paid a little bit, but I'm like, it wasn't the same amount of lifestyle we were accustomed to.
You're
or
still
the money.
bleeding
And not to
enormously.
whinge or anything like that was great, you know, at the same time, but it was like you couldn't live off it. You had to do something. So then I got a job in a bottle shop, which eventually goes into how I started the alcohol company because I saw that opportunity there. But and I was working in there and I was getting paid. I was working like 60 hours or some shit in this bottle shop. Like my friends that got me a job there, I was actually loving it because I had no responsibility. It was the weirdest thing. I'd never ever had that in my life. And then I was doing that, and then on the side I was selling pies, and online I was making like stoner pies with a pie maker and with all like random things like.
It's just the definition of pivoting, like you were just talking about.
And then I did this dog thing, which I've talked about a few times, but I started to work with this guy from Queensland who was bringing in pedigree dogs, and I was delivering them in the Ring of Steel, which ended up me being a private jet, and I flew to Tasmania in the midst of COVID to deliver these fucking dogs. Weird ass story. So I was doing all these weird things and pivoting and taking any opportunity I can. Ended up loving it. I was like, this is fun. And then once that happened, it was like, for all the bad that it came with it, I was like, oh, well, it's not that bad. You know, like you actually got forced to change, and you did sweet. You're fine. You pivoted. You fucking did all these different companies and whatever, and it wasn't that bad. You still paid your bills. You still ate. Like you may not have had. You maybe were eating rum steak instead of I Philip, but like still better than the life you used to live. You know. So at that point, I was like, all right, well, I can take on the world, and I've sort of had that mentality much since 2020. So COVID was like the worst but best thing that ever happened to me. And then I pivoted and I started working in all these different spaces and having a crack at different things. And the last 5 years have been up and down, round and round, but I never would have left the industry and probably never would have had garnered as much attention and respect because I would have eventually just died out. Yeah, like as people do. And then like, oh, he's washed, he's just some old boy, like whatever. But it's like I left on a high and then got to create a new high, which I think added to the storyline that I've created. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. And you're like, I just scribbled this down as you're talking. There's like two things I'm dying to say. Like one, you were just willing to try stuff. Like you just reeled off, was it 5 different things you tried during COVID? A lot of even at different times when I've just felt stuck and I'm not getting anywhere. It's because there's a thing I could do over there, like making pies or like one of the other 5 things you did. Like, oh, no. I just want what I was doing to come back and I'll be right. I'll just stick this out. And really, it's my ego going, no, I don't want to. No, then people are going to think it didn't work out for me over there. Or is there a sense of you that's like, do you put that out in the world? Who gives a fuck if it didn't work?
I don't, man,
on to the next thing.
Yeah, it's an interesting one again. So friends of mine have ran businesses and they failed once. And they're like, never do it again. And I'm like, who gives a fuck? Like, to my head, I don't understand why you care. Like, I've started up a burger shop once. It was called Got Beef in Warrigal, this small town in country Victoria.
Great name.
Yeah, thank you. And I built it out, did it all. Like, got excited for it. I had a guy who was like had this fucking awesome restaurant out there to build these burgers. First month comes in, I have a manager because I don't want to work in it. And I'm like, I got paid $500, and I was like, this is not scalable. Like, this is it by your own wage job. Yeah. And so straight away, I'm like, boys, cash my chips in, you take it, I'm leaving.
Yep.
And then everyone's like, what happened to that burger shop you launched fucking 3 months ago? I was like, oh, I wasn't making money, so I moved on. And like, my mate said, how do you have that mentality? I'm like, because I don't give a fuck. It's just a thing. Like, I'll just continue to move on. And it's one big game for me. It's not like job by job. But people have this hang up, like, I failed once, so therefore, you know, I can never do again. It's like, bro, that's my university course is failure. I'm the king of failure. Yeah, like I fail and I don't do it again. Yeah, like, so if I fail once, I don't look at that as like a bad thing. I've got a really good relationship with failure. For me, I look at it as like it's a lesson. And then I'm like, okay, sweet, I failed on that. So then now I know what not to do and I move forward. And a friend of mine, he's at the moment, times are tough. Like I'm seeing everyone I'm speaking to, from fucking construction to FMCG to no one's spending. E-commerce is another one's fucked. So a lot of my friends' businesses that are either struggling or like, you know, some of them are even going broke. And I was talking to a mate about that. And then he was sort of saying like, fuck now, I've lost my train of thought now.
All right. Because e-commerce is one of them. Times are tough.
Yeah, I was talking to him about it and he was like, you know, he goes, if I have to close this, what a waste of time. It's been 7 years. And he's like, what a waste of time. And I was like, brother, how's it a waste of time? Like, you've just learned how to run a business, how to run crews, how to run ATO and taxes. You've learned what not to do. Like, if you were to start another business, you'd work in a business with higher margins. It's a 7-year course. You still paid your wage. You bought it. Like, you lived your life. And I'm like, so now it's not a waste of time. You haven't pushed yourself backwards. If anything, you push yourself forward. The next project you do is going to take 1/4 of the time because you're not going to make those mistakes and you use all the lessons that you learned while doing it. So I'm like, it's just a better relationship with failure. I was like, why are you looking at it like you fucked up? I'm like, don't let it hang. It's bad baggage. You know, like, move forward and go, well, now whatever I do, I've got a way better playbook to move forward and fucking win. So it's just a different thought process. Like,
it's interesting to be. It's an interesting time. We're all in the same camp in this. Look what I'm doing now.
Yeah,
This is the latest one. I think Vegan, you know, I started YoPro. I was the official founder of YoPro frozen yogurt. Have I ever told you that?
no,
That's true. This is a true story. Like, I've just done the same thing my whole life. I was a school refuser, my mum calls me. I just wouldn't do it. I'd love learning, but I just want to learn my way. I want to learn what I want to learn and when I want to learn it, sort of thing. And, you know, sort of carried over into my personality and life. But one of the many ventures I tried was like, I was working at Doherty's gym and everyone loved frozen yogurt at the time. It was like when Yochi and all that was sort of kicking off. I'm a protein bro now. I'm jabbing things in my ass and trying to get huge. How do I have the best of both worlds here? So I ended up getting like a tub of protein powder and just trying to mix it into like a soft serve ice cream machine. Like, this tastes like utter shit. I've got, I'm doing this. I've got the name YoPro and whatever, and got the sketch. I reckon there's still an Instagram for it.
Yeah, I reckon I definitely remember it.
So I did it, and then like obviously it got to a point where it was doing okay just in that local gym scene. And I was 23 and had no money. So it's like, you want to go to Coles. I remember I met with the people that sort of get you into Coles or not get you into Coles. And they're like, $1 million is going to get you in. All right, that's it. I'm not doing yogurt anymore. Yeah. So I just parked that, pivoted, went to the next thing. And I'm living at mum and dad's house a couple of years later. And this person kept trying to knock on the door. And I was probably in my dodgy phase at this point in life. So I wasn't really keen on this sort of thing. So
unknown visitors.
Yeah. Maybe it's a cop or whatever. One day they caught me and I opened the door and fuck, it's that person again. You James Kennedy? Yeah. What have I done? Who is it? I represent Denoy Yogurt. We'd like to talk to you about YoPro. Oh, really? This is not a Rich's story. They just wanted the name. So I got completely ripped off. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I was like, I got a little, like, for 20, whatever it was, years old, I was like, all right, that could probably pay my car off, my Commodore.
Yeah, 100%. But like, and
But on to the next thing.
I always look at it like too, like when you go through life and you kind of, I guess, working on these little projects and stuff, like you might lose on one, but the next one you win on. And then you like, so you don't, people are like, oh, you lost 200 grand on that. I'm like, no, I didn't. Because everything that I do accumulates to one income pool. And so if I can pay my bills, I didn't lose 200 grand on that. I like that year I had a bad year, but the next year I might do brand new projects, but I killed it. Yeah. And so I think people get so hung up on like they build their time and energy into one project and that's like becomes their personality. Yep. Whereas for me, it's like if something, like even my company now, if it's not working, I'll just get rid of it tomorrow and start something else. You know, like, but I'm in probably a weird spot. So for me, people always like, oh, you know, what's their secret sauce? I'm like, I can't work a normal job. I'm too fucking crazy. Yeah. Like, so I can't, the idea of waking up to an alarm, like I couldn't do that. Yeah. And it's not because it's not a choice. It's like physically I could not do that. I would just be late and I'd get fired. And so I had to figure out a way to make income to support my life and family. And by default, that was entrepreneurship because it made sense to the way that I am. Like I love to work at nighttime. Like I'm often up at 1 o'clock in the morning working and no one lets you do that. You know,
you're saying you enjoy that. Like
love
that's
it.
kind of just your thing.
I'll work 16 hours a day if I get to pick the hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
That's a good line.
I'm similar. I love work. I framed it. I think last week on the pod I said this. Like for me, it's not the pursuit of happiness. For me, it's the happiness of pursuit. I love pursuing something. I'm so happy when I'm building, creating, chasing. Love that shit. You know what I mean? And so I could work all day. Like it doesn't feel like work to me. You know. But for that same reason as you, I've made choices to do that in my life. Like I did work a corporate job, but fuck, the most miserable I've been was when I was earning the most money. It's when I was working in tech sales. I was fucking miserable. It was 9 to 5. It fucking killed me that I could only have 4 weeks holiday a year. Well, who the fuck are you to tell me how many fucking days off I can have, you know? That killed me and I could never go back to that. So I've started doing this, you know?
Yeah, I rate that because I'm like much the same. There's been times where I'm like making heaps of coin. I'm like, this is not fulfilling me. So again, goes back to that nightclub stuff. Like when I actually left, I was making the most amount of money I'd ever made and I was killing it. And then at the same time, I was like, yeah, but this is just not, it's not getting me up in the morning. So I'm like, I'm doing this for the wrong reason. Like I don't really work for money in a sense. I guess because it goes back to like when I grow up, I'm working for a lifestyle and this is not fulfilling that lifestyle. Like I'm at work and I'm fucking bored and I want to know about it. You know, like, and then, yeah, I don't know. I'd much rather make less money and be happier than the other way around.
Well, there's the great awakening in that sense. Oh, that sounds sort of conspiracy sounding. The great something else that sort of reminds me to bring this up. Like you're a bit of an idol to young people. I remember, and I'm not just pulling this out of my ass to kiss your ass or anything. We did like a New Year's, Christmas Eve thing together. And it was at the Warrandyte pub, right? I don't know if I've told you about this, Veg, but we opened up the back window of this joint and there's just like at Warrandyte pub on Christmas Eve, it just goes off. It's young people everywhere. They're all between probably 16 and like 25. But they're all lining up on the back of our set. And every fucking one of those kids is going, is that Danny Rants?
Yeah.
Is that Danny Rants? You've got this, it sent me down a rabbit hole with this and just obviously looking at your content, just reading what kids say. The young people, I think, are really connecting with your message. And that's why I was so keen to hear this. I've sort of known in snippets from where you've spoken elsewhere and conversations where we've had, but to really dig in onto it, I think this is clearly why they're connecting with you. One, you haven't come from, it hasn't been handed to you on a fucking plate. And people say that in all sorts of areas of life, but it really hasn't for you. You've actually gone through a hell of a lot of adversity. And you've literally even just recently, and how I've come to know your content, you've just picked up a fucking GoPro. It doesn't even need to be. It probably wasn't the first time you went out and just said, I'm doing it. And like we were talking about the worst thing that can happen is 3 meals a day and all that sort of stuff. Like you were, I can see it, you're talking about juvie, but like that's still 3 meals a day. And for the people who potentially can't, you still are one of those people that they can, I think they're looking to you and going, yeah, you can fucking do it. We've all got fun. Let's just have a go, have a crack. Anyway, I didn't think I was about to go on a, pardon the pun, rant, but I think it's just awesome what you're doing, and to see that many young people going, I can fucking do it too.
It's a spin out to me too, like because I'm like I still don't really get it. Like you talk about imposter syndrome, not that I have imposter syndrome, but I'm like, why the fuck do so many people want to watch this? Yeah, I don't actually understand it. But with these kids, a lot of them will come up and they'll be like, oh, bro, you've motivated me or you made me do this. There's one kid that comes to mind like a week ago who said, I started up my own lawnmower company because of you. I'm like, how, why? Like, I don't actually know why. Yeah, always. And it's funny because I go to Untitled events and by far, like Untitled's sort of their own kind of ecosystem. And I go to those events and I get fucking slammed. Like, it's so wild. But these kids, the stuff they say it's a lot of it to do with, I guess, more to do with the brutal honesty, like how I just don't filter shit, So you live your whole life where people don't mention that people do drugs, Like you've got these famous artists that pretend that they don't fucking kick on, You've got these guys who run festivals who are doing press statements, that are hiding behind the curtain. It's like, then you get this guy who's unapologetically coming out and going, oh, you think people do drugs in nightclubs? Well, you are correct. And they're like, oh my God, like this guy's not lying. It's like, fuck, he's actually said it.
He finally said it.
And I'm like, but the second thing is, another one which I think is super fucking cool is that I get these kids, and this was at Pitch Music, I was there. was watching this like random ads. They were called Hacker something. It was fucking insane. Like,
Yeah.
off the topic, but these like German techno guys that like they dance and it's like industrial gabba. It was mad. And then these kids were, before we were waiting, they were coming up asking for flicks, whatever. And there was this one group of kids that really resonated. I've had it a few times, but this is like the first time it happened. And then one of the kids said to me, I've learned more about drug safety from you than I have from my parents, teachers, and police. And I'm like, how do you mean? Because I kind of dove into it. I'm like, because I don't really talk about drug safety per se. But she's like, you don't lie about drugs. So you talk about drugs. This is what bad can happen. This is also the good thing that happens. Yeah. Like, so, and you're not like scared to talk about them like, oh, that this thing that you can't bring up because I'm going to rule my own fucking social media or whatnot. It's like, I've taken drugs. I don't anymore. I've actually not taken drugs for close on 6 years because I had my own battles with it, right? But at the same time, it's like, I'm not unappealing against, if someone wants to take drugs, go for it. Like, that's how I look at it. As long as they're taking care of themselves, you know, they got good mental health. And like the idea that there's this world where people don't, and like in mainstream media is this, I actually think it's damaging. So to have these kids, and I can sit there and go, hey, if you get caught with drugs, why sniff a dog? Don't eat them all. This is something I actually said. I'm like, just get caught with them. Because if you have 2 pills, you're going to get a drug caution. No one tells them that. Yeah, like everyone's like, if you get caught with drugs, you're going to go to jail for the rest of your life. I'm legit like, just don't eat them because you might die. So just get caught because nothing's going to happen. You get slapped on the wrist, you're going to move on.
Yep.
Isn't that wild that I'm the only person who fucking tells these kids that? Like, or, you know, hey, if your friend is overdosing, you're not going to get in trouble from the police and you're not going to get in trouble from the ambulance. On the contrary, they're going to help you through it because you're not breaking the law. You're allowed to take drugs. There's nothing wrong with that. This whole idea of this world that where you keep this thing shunned, and a lot of things that I talk about shunned and they don't exist. And, you know, no doubt it's affected me when I've come to mainstream media. There's something that comes to mind in my head right now with I kind of got bumped off something, and I no doubt in my mind it's because of my honest approach to everything, you know, like from crime to drugs to all the positive things that come out of the nightclub and music industry too. But because of that, people want to shun it away. But I think it's damaging to these kids. And I think the reason why we have overdoses and we have addiction, a lot of that can be contributed back to the way the media pretends it doesn't exist. Like footy players do, getting caught with drugs and like, oh, it was a Panadol crushed up in my fucking pocket. No, it wasn't. Yeah, like, you know, I know, I've seen you do it. Yeah, like, but the fact that you can't talk about it, is that, what benefit is that doing to anybody?
Yeah, like, this is to the AFL point. Exactly what you're saying there is kind of what I had to go through with when I left that whole career. It's absolutely trying to have a bet each way almost. It's this half harm reduction, half, no, we actually just don't want this to exist. Drugs are bad. Don't talk about drugs. They're not in our sector. So, you know, if we can't actually have an open conversation about it, how we actually, to the point of even helping anyone to the point of even knowing if they're fucking doing it, or having you trust me if you're a footy player enough to tell me, not just to go to know that you can go to the doc on Monday and self-report and then you get a strike and then you go into mental health protocols, not all the tricks, but just genuinely how to keep yourself safe. Like I remember we connected last year, we put out something, it was before I did the mask thing, and it was around the nitazines that were getting around. Nitazines. It was, I didn't even know what the fuck that was until someone overdoses, and it was like a house full of people in Broadmeadows.
3 of them, died.
Yeah.
3 of them died, yeah.
And it was dodgy coke, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think something.
It's still going around now.
Yes, I think it's got worse, isn't it?
Yeah, there was one recently, not to call out Chapel Street, I'll say, but there was multiple. And there was like 6 of them one night, and no one died, but multiple guys went to hospital. But it's like, again, these are these things, and it's like clubs don't want to talk about it because then they show that there's drugs in the club, but it's like, okay, well, that's only affecting and harming people. So I feel like it's a weird thing, and you know, that no one talks about it. But the reality of it is, it's the truth. Like fucking, I'd say 90% of Australian population probably have or do consume drugs, but we can't talk about it in mainstream media. We can't talk about it from policing perspective. We can't talk about it from sports. We can't talk about it from celebrities. It's like, if you do, you're basically either at the end of your career and you're writing a tell-all book, or second to that, you're disgraced. Yeah, like, so why are we doing that? Like, it doesn't make sense. And there's like this relationship, I believe, that exists of honesty. Like, it doesn't mean to say, don't celebrate it. Like I try not to ever celebrate it because but at the same time, I'm not going to downplay it. Like, it can be fun. Yeah, like that's the reality.
There's like this fine line, isn't it? Sorry,
that's an interesting point, and to play devil's advocate or devil's lettuce advocate. Do you?
Nice.
I've had a similar experience with weed myself. No, sorry, I didn't think I was Jesus. Let me clarify that. It was just one bad night.
I still think I'm Jesus.
It was one bad night when I was 18 and I never touched it again.
You passed it?
Yeah, like bad.
It fucking sucks, doesn't it?
Mate, literally, and then haven't even looked at it since then. So I was 18, right? And anytime I talk to someone or a kid or someone a bit younger where I feel like I might be able to have some influence, my brother being the main example, I will always tell him not to do it, right? That's just because that was my experience. do you feel a little bit of responsibility in that sense? Because you are that older person that these kids look up to. They might be 15, 16, 17 going like, fuck, this is a cool cunt from the nightclubs. Like, do you feel a little bit of that responsibility to, you know, give them the full picture, but also maybe dissuade them a little bit, just given your own experience?
Yeah, yes and no. Like the thing is for me, I don't like to sugarcoat shit. And I think that's probably why people are attracted to my content. Like I've done pinions and I've done different things like shrooms and I've wigged out and fucking hated it. I don't hate it. I would never do it again, you know? But at the same time, there's other drugs that I really enjoyed. Yeah. And so I'm not going to pretend that I haven't A, done them and B, / enjoyed something. Like that's not the truth. But what I would like people to know is that if you take too much of these things, for argument's sake, ketamine, your lungs might shut down, you might die. Yeah. And like, so I think that they go, well, don't take it. Doesn't exist. Like that's the part where I believe that I can help, where it's like, hey, if you want to take it. It's not going to kill you. Like the reality of, and the idea that the police and the government have said to you, you're going to die if you take this. Like, that's not actually true. You know this. That's why you take it like on the weekends and you've been lied to your whole entire life. But if you take too much of this is probably what's going to happen. Or you could get addicted to this, or it could ruin your life, or it could affect your mental health, or it could affect your working life. Like I think there's two sides to the tail, but the whole don't do it, you'll die. Like when you're a kid growing up, like if you do drugs, you'll die. And most kids, like when it comes to their first ecstasy tablet, they take it after like hesitant, they're scared, their heart's racing. They take it and then they have this fucking amazing experience where they're dancing all night and they're kissing their friends and they're like, everything's a lie. Yeah, and like if we were like, didn't lie to them at the beginning, how does that relationship go on? Those kids that try ecstasy then maybe move into ice and then get bad because they're like, all these authoritarian figures that I've looked up to. Why would I listen to them? I'm going to try everything. Like they said, ice is bad. Let's fucking smoke that. Then they get addicted and they get cooked, right? So if you got someone like myself who's like, hey, look, I took bickies, they were fucking mad, but then I kept taking them too much and it gave me anxiety and I had to stop. Yeah, and like so, because if you take them too much, they're bad for you. But taking them once is not going to kill you. That's the truth in reality. You're probably going to enjoy it. But the pathway is then onto these other things like ice. And if you take that, you might get addicted to it and it might ruin everything. You might go to jail. And I've seen that happen. Here's 10 fucking examples of that. Here's a bad example of ecstasy use, but here's some good ones that are funny too. Yeah. And like, so I think the idea of just like, that's a demon or that's good or bad. It's like, I live in a world of gray. It's like what I like to say. I'd be lying if I said ecstasy was a horrible thing. Yeah. Like, cause if people try it, it's great. It helps people be creative. It fucking expands moments. Yeah. And like creates culture. But in the same time, if you take too much ecstasy, you can fucking die. Yeah. And like, you can also ruin your life. You can stop your brain from working properly and have mental health problems. Yeah, like so. Name one thing in life that doesn't have a good and a bad side. You know, like if you play football, you can become a multimillionaire, but you can also break your fucking neck and die. Yeah, like so. This idea that there's just like this hard line in the sand is something that I'm just not willing to accept on anything. Yeah, like that's not just drugs and clubs or whatever. It's like if someone goes to jail, like we talked about this before, but like you don't write them off. They're not a piece of shit. They're a guy who made a mistake, probably back because they were on drugs. So I'm not going to go, well, that guy's in jail, so therefore I'm not going to put him on my podcast and he's a piece of shit. Don't ever talk to him. I'm like, it's a guy, why did you make that mistake? You know, was it childhood trauma? Yeah, like, was it because you got addicted to drugs? It's like this idea that the world is black and white is just something that I refuse to adapt to. And as I said, there's probably media things and where I block myself out, but I'm like, I'd rather be honest and talk about this gray world that exists and be open. And even if that means that it's a cost to me for business or, you know, cost to me for media or whatever, then pretend to be something that I'm not. So I would rather say no to fucking being, not that I'm into football, a football presenter, because I have said that I've done ecstasy before, then pretend I haven't and then get caught with it and go, oh, I didn't know what it was. Yeah, like that's harmful to me. Like that's how I look at it. And I think I'm one of the only people, other than we talked about earlier, but guys like Spanian, you know, like Gaz Wright, myself, these guys are blowing up because we're just not lying. Like that's the reality. It's like you spend your whole life watching media with these guys going like, haha, what marijuana? What's that? Yeah, like, and then they're smoking fucking 10 joints a night. Like,
and everyone knows the guest into talking about it rather than actually being honest.
Or like these guys have got drinking alcohol problems and they're pretending they don't drink. It's like it's this world of why are the people that we're watching representing a life that actually doesn't exist? You know, like so the guys I think who are getting a lot of traction now are people that are like honest, like they're honest storytellers who aren't going to paint a picture because they're not afraid or not governed by some giant big brother who's saying you can't say that. And I think about all time, man. Like I'm always like, why do we live in a world where you can ruin your life for fucking smoking a joint?
Well, it's very information based, but from just listening to how you're responding to your question there around dissuading, I think was the word you. If I'm listening to everything you just said, then I'm now in a position where if I hadn't heard any of that before, okay, I know I think you're trying to just give everyone the full picture, to make your own decision, but it's of completely educated it has to be from both directions. Yeah, you might have the best experience of your life one night, but here's what it can do at the same time. That's it's one major component of just a harm reduction model in the end. At the end of the
I'm
day,
so massive on harm reduction. And that's the thing. It's like, okay, well, if you're going to do it, because you probably are, because 90% of people do try it, then do it in a safe environment. Do it where there's if something goes wrong, you can go back to an ambulance or know that you can, like, because you talked about smoking weed and getting paranoid. Like, I've been there too many times, unfortunately, but I also don't smoke it anymore. But it's like, you freak the fuck out. But imagine if someone was like, oh no, you can go to the doctor and the doctor can tell you that you're just wigging the fuck out. It's an adverse reaction to this. But instead, they're like, just don't do it. Like, it's just so old hat. And like, it's a hard one because I've got kids now. And my wife has never done drugs. She's so like the opposite. Like, we talk about my life and how I've grown up. She grew up, her mum's a principal and they're private school teachers and all that sort of shit. So she went to private school and whatnot. And it's like, so we have this sort of hard line where I'm unapologetically me. That's how I feel. And like, I'm not going to waver or sway because someone doesn't agree with what I'm saying, because I think I'm doing the right thing. And that, what I talk full circle, when I talk to those kids from pitch, or like, I learn more from what you say online than I have from police, teachers and parents. And if that helps that kid navigate something they're going to do away from those authoritarian people more safely, fucking awesome. Like, that's how I look at it.
I really wonder, like, this is tinfoil hat shit, but I really wonder whether, like, because I think the reason why schools, police, call them government spokespeople type, don't condone or promote's not the right word, but don't even endorse this kind of stuff in any ways, because they're worried about liability. Right? They're worried if something happens, they're going to be liable. I really wonder whether that's going to happen to creators, to podcast hosts, to YouTubers, whether there's going to, I don't know, but like, is there going to be some legal implications if kids are like, oh, I saw it on this channel and I didn't, and then I fucking, I don't know, OD'd.
Probably for the creators that are, I don't think
because it's media, you know what I mean?
Yeah, if it was someone who's like,
Take this.
I think about gambling. Talking to a good mate about this, like yesterday, there's talking about having a punt and talking about the horse doing your form guide and whatever, and then there's, I'm gonna bet something on something, like for every follower I get, sort of stuff. This trend that's going on. Is there a difference? I'm not trying to shame them, but is there? If we go back over to drugs, is it the person who's like documenting their pinger life? Well, it's just that's very different to
even the fight stuff now, where people just punch on in the backyard.
Yeah. That's a great example.
So this fight stuff, like you're watching this online now, and I'm engaging with it. I'm absolutely loving it. But like, that is so unorthodox. It's online. It's someone's gonna die. Like, that's the reality of what happens. But it's like you look at that, and it's like they're gonna try and govern it, and all they're gonna do is push it away again. It's gonna get more and more scarier, and more dangerous. So this model of like this autocratic, things we have to push away out of sight, or, we have to, banishing doesn't work. It never has worked. Like, war on drugs was the biggest failure of all time. If that worked, we would have no one doing drugs, but I'd argue that there's more people doing drugs than ever.
Yep.
But this idea of like, even with this YouTube fight stuff, as soon as they ban it, any of these social media platforms or whatever, then it's just going to get worse. Like, people are going to want to watch these things. So it's like, how do we navigate these? How do we make them safer? Is, I think, the answer to all of these questions.
Well, there's Run It, there's all that sort of stuff. There's a kid who, I think, to your point about the fighting, I can't remember what his username is, but he started by having a punch.
Krongman.
Yes.
Yeah, Krongman.
And he's in front of the pyramids 2 weeks later. To your point, that they have shut him down that many times, all the platforms and things, and it's done exactly what you're saying. It's just getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you're, talking about trying to not promote this stuff or anti-violence and educate, all that sort of stuff, that shutting him down has only made him go from 100 followers to, I think he's on 1 million now. He just fought with Andrew Tate and all that, done these ridiculous things because he's getting suppressed. And there's this anti-suppression movement thing happening.
Well, I think
online.
that going back to Veg and what you were talking about, I think eventually what happens is that guys, it becomes not appealing. So if I go there and go, green Mitzies, everyone's like, oh, and it's 1 million views straight away, because no one's ever heard someone who they see as a media personality saying that word, because like it's sort of off the cusp in a sense. But at least unfiltered content, I think if it gets to a point, like, let's talk about Marilyn Manson as an example. Marilyn Manson was shocked, now he's not. Yeah, like, because over time you're like, well, it wasn't really that shocking. He just had his top off and wore lingerie. Who cares? Yeah, like, over time I think that this sort of shock factor content that is really blowing up in the last 5 years, people will go, well, you can just talk about this stuff now. Yeah, and so it won't become as appealing and as taboo. So that's what I think. It'll eventually fade off and probably do the world better, because guys are like, oh, okay, I've watched a criminal. Yeah, like,
so it's only you're saying it's only shocking really because psychologically because it's still getting suppressed.
Correct.
So it's shock factor. Oh, you can't do that.
If you're watching on Channel 10 and they were doing the same shit, you'd be like, why would you watch the guys like myself talk about it? You know,
Yeah.
like you wouldn't, because you're like, oh, this is just normal fucking run-of-the-mill TV. You know,
Yeah,
like,
it's a fucking good point. Like if Run It was on KO right now, just normally on everything and everyone's covering it, and probably just like, okay, they're just running at each other.
so, dude,
Yeah,
I
totally.
actually supported Run It. So we were one of the sponsors.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and I went through it in depth with the guys, and I disagree that it's as dangerous as I think it's a new media hype they're jumping on. Like, this is killing kids. It's like people have been doing that thing. Like I grew up in an area full of Islanders. They were doing that when I was a kid. Yeah,
Right.
like they were fucking running into each other in backyards. Someone's put it onto TV, turned it into a sport. There's doctors there. There's like rules. There's whatever. You'd argue that that's safer than doing it in a footy oval in Hampton Park. You know, like,
Is the argument around concussion, isn't it? And it's probably
the argument's around concussion, but the thing is how they work it out from, again, I'm using from when I spoke to them. So they're the higher chance of concussion. At the moment it's new, so obviously it is, you know, no doubt when they first started boxing, people were getting concussed flat out. If they allow it to evolve, in my opinion, people will get safer and better and whatnot. Currently at the moment, definitely train wreck TV.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like in rugby, they do that over and over and over again. So it's like they're still running from 10 meters and 10 meters. They're still doing all the things that you can do in rugby. Yes, it's more directed, like it's not as kind of, I guess, in a way scary. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know, like there's two parts to it, right? It goes go back to me in that grey zone thing. It's like if somebody wants to do something, who are we to say that they shouldn't? Like that's like, I think that if I want to go punch on with people bare fist in the factory behind us, why can't I? Like it's like unless like I've got some sort of mental health issue or mental illness or something like that. If I'm cleared and I have that decision, I'm a real big believer, which is probably like controversial. You should be able to do whatever the fuck you want. And in other countries that aren't Western, you can. You know, like the repercussion of doing these things is you die and you're the idiot that accepted it. You know, like to do it. So it's like in our world, it's like, well, you can't. We have to highly govern these actions and whatnot. It's like if you decide to do it and you're fully fit, mentally healthy, whatever, that's responsibility on you, in my opinion. I agree that concussions are bad and whatnot, but I think that if it evolved and got better, it would get to a point where it would be no different than combat sport. You know, like no different than a version of that. You look at UFC in the early days where you could stomp people in the head and shit. Now it's not as bad. But how is UFC and Run It, for argument's sake, any really different other than the fact that it gets a lot of clickbait on media and they can use it as a way to like drive up rage? You know, like it's a media-driven fear campaign, in my opinion.
It's because the argument, yes, concussion, and if the difference between that and UFC, rugby league, all that stuff is they have concussion protocols. They've got the best doctors in the world, the science-backed stuff, the safety protocols. It's just devils here. How do you get from? I'd imagine that's exactly what the UFC's had to do at some point. They've had to go, yeah, okay, people are just going to die if we don't
Those
put any.
cunts don't give a fuck, man.
Well, they don't give a fuck,
people
probably
that-
because they are brain dead.
The people that own the UFC don't give a fuck about.
Oh, they own the
anything
White
other
House
than
now. That's a
cash.
whole
That's
other
just
topic.
cash.
But is there in the background of Run It? I'm interested in it. Like, is there? There'd have to be talks now about. All right, this is blowing up. What do we do to?
Well, they
make
actually
this-
have it approved. So this is the part. So they went to the argument that I was told, again, it's secondhand information. They went to combat sports and said, hey, we're going to do this thing where people run into each other. Because you run into each other 3 times. It's like a round robin. So
Right.
not everyone gets knocked out. You only see those reels because they go viral, right? It's a viral making machine. Like, I've never seen anything to that power. It's fucking insane.
Right.
So I went to one of the events and there was 2 knockouts and there was like 50 fucking runs. You know, I've been to boxing events where I've seen 11 concussions out of 12 fights. Like, so then and the rule is that you effectively, if you knock someone out 9 times out of 10, you've actually get disqualified straight away because you've done the wrong thing in a way. So the argument was that as long as it was the same as when you do rugby, so 10 meters to 10 meters, you run into each other, that rule's not changing. They do that in rugby. So you can literally Run It 50 times in a game of rugby. Then they were like, well, if we can live by those sort of protocols, then why can they do it in rugby and we can't do it? So they effectively went through all these rules and they've got concussion experts, they've got matting, they've got doctors, they've got whatever, and it got approved because they couldn't really argue that because the aim is not to concuss the opponent. It's not the case. It's to knock them off their line. So concussion is effectively it's a byproduct of the game.
Yeah.
So whereas in boxing and MMA, their actual aim
It's a
is
way to win.
to knock out your opponent. So you don't win if you knock someone out and Run It.
Right.
You actually are more likely to get disqualified.
Right.
So the game, it's again goes back to that whole like we don't get the full picture and everyone's like rah, up in rage. It's like yes, a byproduct of this game is that you get concussed, but the reality of it is it's like the game is to knock your opponent off their line. Yeah,
Kind of like modern day fencing.
It's fucking sick.
That's what I was sitting
The
here
goal
thinking.
isn't to
I
stab
loved
the
it.
cunt. It's just to knock them off their line.
You may die.
But they did it. They did it in Melbourne, and I went, and I was like, "This is fucking awesome."
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if they'll ever let them do it again, but I was like, it was very sick to watch because
Yeah.
these big fellas, man, it's just like the sound is like. It was sick.
I've only really seen like a couple of reels and gone, holy shit.
Yeah, but you only see the best or worst parts. I guess you could argue either.
I think the ones I watched was like it was pretty good. It's entertaining stuff.
Yeah.
But I can see it's just by nature you just balance it and go devil's out. I can see it from both ends, and working in footy, the concussion stuff, but the litigiousness of it all, and I think that's gonna I'd imagine that's something the legalities of it all in the background, the lawsuits that are coming through in fucking it's tsunami of them in the AFL.
Yeah.
They're coming through.
Oh, no doubt that'll happen there too. But it's like
More
again,
of a consideration for the people running it. It's like, pardon the pun, like, are we doing this at the right time, or is it right as the doors being opened for people who are going, hold on, you didn't look after us?
yeah, I think. But again, my argument would be that okay, we'll get those people in, get those concussion experts, get all these other guys, like figure out a way to do this safely. Because
Yeah.
all that's going to happen is they're going to ban it, and it goes back to exactly the point before. They're going to do it in backyards, and they're going to do it secret, and you can buy tickets to watch guys do running in a park.
Yep.
All it does is suppress it and make it more dangerous.
I sit in
my
that same
opinion.
camp, and if that first piece you just put in there isn't there, then it's just fucking
So the
all
first,
sorts.
the first reaction is like, we have to ban this. And I'm like, it just doesn't make any sense. It's like, okay, it should be like, we have to support this so it's safe. Like that should be the first thought. Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
But instead it's like, we got to stop it. And again, this is so fucking off topic, but like at the moment.
What is topic though?
Yeah, true. So Glastonbury on the weekend, or 2 weekends ago, there was kneecap. So I don't know if you guys saw that controversy. And then there was that band before, I can't remember the name, but the whole political part that they were yelling.
Yep.
I'm like, dude, fucking in the 50s, the government tried to ban Elvis. Like, how did that go down? Shithouse. He became the biggest artist in the world. So they're doing it still now. Like 70 years old.
Bro,
Like,
I was thinking about them this
I'm
morning
like,
about kneecap. I'm like, they'd be lapping this up.
but
Absolutely.
when they came to Melbourne, no one really knew who they were. And now, arguably, the most talked about.
Can you imagine how expensive it would have been for them to pay for that media that they've gotten over the past month?
And it's like,
It
but
would
it's
have cost millions of dollars.
but what blows my mind is the fact that it's still they're allowed to work. Like the government's like first reaction is ban them, and then it's like all it does is blow them up and make them huge. It's like, all right, let's look at the last 70 years in music. Every time Marilyn Manson, Alice Cooper, fucking Elvis Presley, like these are artists we know, Eminem, because they try to ban them. It's like
Tupac.
it doesn't work. Tupac. It's like it doesn't work. Like why are we still doing the same thing 70 years later? Like it's actually
So
mind blowing.
true.
If it enrages and engages, I've always had this in the back of my mind, even with the stuff that I do. We talk about it a lot. Like, I know exactly, if we want to go viral today and just be viral for a while, there's a couple of buttons I know. It's like a fucking recipe.
Oh, yeah.
It's very quick and very easy, and you don't want to do it all the time because it's fucking exhausting. But that enrage, engage thing, it's human fucking behavior.
Like Vera Coley wearing nappies. AI generated nappies.
I enraged the minds of 1 billion people in the country of India to my own amusement.
It's just insane to me. Like, I guess, I don't know, maybe hopefully I'm the new wave. Like, I'm getting older now, so I'll be the new set of boomer. But I'm just like, I don't think we need to think things differently. Like, we continue to do the same thing. We get old, we get enraged. Like, what is this fucking music? And da-da-da. It's like, okay, why don't we understand why the kids are doing these things and try to help and support them and accept that the way they're being, or, you know, all these people, doesn't matter if they're crime. Like, at the moment, there's a whole crime thing going on. It's like, why are kids stabbing each other in Northlands? Yeah, like, why, rather than being like, kick them out, rah, rah. It's like,
That's
let's
like the
figure out why
spectrum.
this is fucking happening.
Yeah.
Rather than, it's always like the most adverse reaction and this banning. And it's like, okay, let's go through history. Like, if you talk about that, it just never ever fucking works. Why are we still following the same models over and over and over again, hoping, like, the definition of crazy is doing the same thing over and over again, but we continue to do it over and over and over again. And then guys like, again, myself, who are sort of trying to do things differently, we're not the ones who are ever going to get this opportunity to work in government. Like, the government's never going to get me to talk on behalf of them. Yeah, like,
I don't know.
Hopefully.
I think they'd be very smart if they did.
but you know, schools are never going to get me in. Yeah, like I'm TV's never going to put me on. So, and the reason why is because I say things that are real. Like, that's the reality. So it's like, why is real scary?
Can't control it, I think.
No, you can't. You can't. It just makes people feel uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, I remember, God, I was thinking in my head when I was talking earlier
You
about
got that look on your
growing up in like commission housing, you
Yeah.
know, like obviously Bosnian immigrant, whatever, like didn't have that formal
Yep.
education, if you will. I remember going the first time I went to like a dinner party at like a proper English person's house, and there was like 3 knives and forks on each side, and I was like, "What the fuck?" And I've obviously done it the wrong way, and I've been told off, and I've been embarrassed then and there, and I'm like, who the fuck made this a rule? Like, what the fuck? There's food on the table, fucking eat it. Like, I think I started going as well. Like, I think I started eating straight away rather than waiting for everyone to sit down and get their food, and then you go, we can commence. You know what I mean? Who the fuck makes this shit up? Like, give me a spell.
The fact, like, living in a world where there's right and wrong is just like, I don't know. Does that exist? Yeah, like,
Yeah.
so it's like there's shades of right and there's shades of wrong. Like, someone could do something wrong, but they might have done it for the right reason. Like, live this whole black and white ideology from every single part of our lives. Like, I don't live by that. And I think it goes back full circle. The way I grew up, the way there was people who were like alcoholics, but they were the nicest people in the whole entire world, you know? So I've been told to be scared of those people. I was told this guy went to jail, so therefore he's a criminal and he should be banished. And I'm like, this guy's the same guy who helped me move on a Tuesday with a phone call straight away. So how can I say this guy's bad? This guy's a drug dealer, so he's a piece of shit. But this is the same guy who's doing it to fund his fucking grandma's mortgage because their grandpa died. Yeah, and so I've seen these shades of where the right and wrong world doesn't exist, and I think that's probably why I can never ever see the world in black and white.
I think I've always had that same feeling and view towards the world, but I've hidden it because I just didn't. I always thought I don't have anything to fall back on. I really didn't do any school. I just went to a Steiner school and then just couldn't do it. Like I said before, I love learning. I just couldn't do it the way that it was presented to me. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do, but I ended up just in different ways. It ended up being, this page being one of them. This whole thing that just took on a life of its own, just as a means of actually being honest and saying what I really think in the world. And I always, Vedran's been awesome for me, just because he's just the guy who's always understood past all the shit I put out into the world and all those the shields I put up to sort of protect myself, I guess mentally. There was nothing wrong with it. Of those views you're talking about, they're the exact views that I'm sitting back going, if I say that, then I don't have a university degree to go back on. I didn't go to school. I don't have. I had that same experience with the knife and fork, by the way.
Yeah.
Same, just so right.
Yeah.
I don't have any of that to fall back on. So I can't take that risk and have my face, my name, my whole, like, I'm trying so hard to just get a fucking job at Coles, let alone someone, from their employment department going online and going, what? What's that thing? What's that? And when I look at it now, like, we keep meeting people, and like I met this great journo the other day. He's one of my idols, Mahmood. He's from
Oh yeah, he's the best dude.
He is
Mahmood
the best.
Faisal.
Yes.
Bro.
We had lunch the other day. Fantastic guy.
I read he did a book. It was about the Sydney fucking.
Yes.
Oh, dude, he's the goat. That guy.
Oh, he's unbelievable. He's just talking about some of the things he's working on at the moment. Oh, you are so cool, Mahmood.
He's so cool, isn't he?
But I was telling him all this stuff, like, this is how I ended up out of my job and all this stuff and all that. And he's just looking at me like, so what was that? Wait, which part? When are you going to tell me the part where you did something wrong and that's why they, none of this is anything. Like, do you think these opinions are bad? Like, I don't know. I just thought that's what the world is. So I think for 35 years of my life, I've wanted to believe that the world is how you're looking at it, and that's probably why I'm drawn to you so much and respect you so much, because you're just doing what I've always sort of wanted to do, but then gone, no, I can't fucking do it. No, I have to be safe here. Almost did it in COVID, and got to get a job in the AFL. Like, oh my God, they've accepted me. The real world, quote unquote, bullshit. I've got my chance. Don't fuck it up. Hide. Keep hiding. And then that all just sort of comes undone for the same stuff. It's like I'm talking about the things that we were just talking about before: drugs, alcohol, mental health, all that sort of stuff. Essentially, that's all I'm doing on this page.
Yeah.
I just use satire to break down people's barriers with it, to make it, shoulders up near your ears, tense conversation, and okay, he's not going to cancel me.
I think the 28-year-old male is like the perfect example of what we've been talking about. It's like, you started that page. I think everyone in Victoria, if not Australia, has followed it. But what made it funny was you're talking about things that you did that you thought that others didn't do. Yeah, like, so staring at the walls when you got home from a party, or sitting around one of those fucking tables at the backyard, and you're like, there's other people like me. Yeah, like, because again, we live in this secret world where you can't talk about stuff. So I think that the virility of the 28-year-old male was being able to be relatable to something that was actually existed, that was real and made you not feel alone. You know, like, so some of those things you feel like a gremlin, which you probably are, but it's okay. We all gremlins at one point.
We've all had our phases, but that was it. That's why there was so many points where I was like, I should probably just stop doing this. I couldn't. They're all my friends. I started a WhatsApp the other day, by the way. It's like 40 of the most. They've been there from the fucking very beginning of it and saying the same stuff. But the more people that say what you said, like, I'm not going around looking for it. It just surprises me. Like, I go and reach out to people like, hey, I'd love to talk to you on a podcast. God, that's original. And they just pop up and go, I've been following since back in the Facebook days. Love it, et cetera, et cetera. I had no idea it was connecting on that level.
Yeah, it's cool, eh?
It's, And every time I sit down with someone like yourself and you say the exact same logic back to me, it just reinforces this is the right thing to do.
Yeah. Hopefully we're the next generation, man. Hopefully we help it for the next kids, you know, because we were growing up like in a different world, but fingers crossed they can live a little bit more fluidly and like not be lied to as much as we did.
Yeah, that's probably it.
What do you spend your, like, if you had to break it down in percentages, what's your day-to-day? Is it like 80% Flickr or like what 20% Danny Rants? How do you kind of, I know that you probably get, no. I know it's going to be like 1% of 100 different things, but
I'd say like I feel like I work 2 full-time jobs. So like one is really Danny Rants and the other one is 80 proof. So I'd say 50-50. So, Monday to, it definitely doesn't work this way, but like Monday to Friday, I'm in the office, I'm working with my team, we're building 80 proof. Yeah. And then at nighttime, I've sort of put kids to bed and then I start up on the Danny Rant stuff. But on the weekends, I don't really not work. Like, I'm always working all the time. So basically, I'd say it's like 50-50 in an extent, but it's sort of not. I'd say 80 proof is my core. And that's sort of like what's funding me to be able to do these things. And like that, the long-term goal is I kind of did this content creation stuff because I'm hoping that eventually that business gets so big that I'm able to like only do this. Like, that would be the aim. But yeah, nothing feels like work to me. We sort of talked about it before, but I'm always just like, I'm just doing shit. You know, that's how I feel. It's like, well, what have I got to do now? And I don't really watch TV a lot and I get bored really easy. So I
texted you at midnight last night. Like, do you want to do it? But so that's just me cracking open a beautiful can of Vita Drop. Our sponsors and partners in the show. Yeah, so I texted you like midnight last night because we're very similar people in our how we stay up late and just have thoughts. Like, fuck, dude, we haven't properly sat down and just instantly, yes, let's do it. So just to your point there.
And it's like my work's cool with it. Like, I left before. I'm like, I've got to fucking bail and do X. And they're like, yeah, whatever. Because like they know that tonight I'll sit down at 8 o'clock at night and work, you know. So, yeah, I've got this thing, man. It's probably like a little kind of cool catchphrase for anyone who does listen to this for motivation. But I always talk about this example, right? So I say, if you're a chef and you love cooking, you always win. You'll be the best chef in Australia. And people are like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, if you're a chef and you do it for a job and you hate it, at 5 p.m. when the clock ticks, you're going to leave. If you love it, you're going to work till 8 p.m. because you're not looking at the time, you don't give a fuck. So by default, you're going to do more hours and you're going to learn more and you're going to get more experiences and be open to more opportunity. So I'm like, if you're not the chef that loves your job, then leave it. Like, that's how I look at it, because like you're just stunting yourself. If you're going to work and fucking sweeping up leaves and then you want to bail at 5 o'clock, which is fair enough, like awesome too. Like, I understand that too. I wouldn't want to sweep leaves either. But it's like, at the same time, if you could do something you fucking loved every single waking minute, by default, you're going to get better at it and you're going to be the best at it, you know? So I always think that. So in my head, I'm like, if I don't like this, I'm doing a disservice to everyone around me by staying in it.
I got a really good example of that. One of our mutual friends, Dom Dollar, when him and I, we used to DJ together, we used to run a few nights together, and like we were together fucking every minute of every day for, a good 7 or 8 years. I remember when we used to like get home from these clubs at like 3, 4 a.m. I used to stay at his house because I was up in Whoop Whoop, so I used to stay at his house in Kew. He had a bungalow at the back, had a studio set up in there where we started producing. We'd get home, I'd go to sleep. He'd stay up till 6, 7, 8 a.m. till the sun comes up, just making tunes. Like, and that's why he just got so good. Like every fucking minute of every day that he wasn't, at the time he was a graphic designer.
He's fucking good at that too.
He was good at that too. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
he's so good.
Worked together at Mushroom doing that. But like he's just one of those people, like every minute of every day that wasn't taken up with something really important, he was making tunes.
And was
that's
that
why
coming
he got
from
to where he is.
That was just purely because he's passionate
He just
about
fucking loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just super driven. Like he's just wired differently. One of those people, just wired differently.
I think with my content thing, like at the moment, like I feel like I do fucking so much content. I put out stupid amounts of stuff, but like goes back to the Dom kind of example. I fucking love it. So like when I'm like, it's almost my missus has to be like, stop doing that. Like it's not that I'm like, I got to push this out. Like tonight I'll go there and like I find myself sitting at nighttime and be like, what can I cut up? Yeah, like what can I do? It's like a game to me. So by default, I'm making more content than others, and I'm putting more stuff into the world, and I'm growing like exponentially because I enjoy doing it. It's like a pastime, you know. And I think the guys that enjoy doing something, they end up winning, and everyone's like, you know, those guys kill it. They're really good workers, but like, are they, or they're just guys that are really interested in what they do?
Yeah. By the way, just before I forget this, I discovered a photo of Veg and Dom in their old days. It came across my desk, if you will. You guys were a DJ combo.
I think they're called DJ duos.
A duo
Combo. Fucking finger licking good 3-piece combo. Yeah.
The photo is disturbing, I would say. It
doesn't need to get aired anywhere.
I think I've been holding on to it for about a month. I reckon it's time it gets out on the socials.
Nah.
What was the name of the?
Yeah, what was the name, right?
Sunday Fun Day.
Sunday Fun Day, I remember that.
Yeah, fucking oath.
Where did you play? Like, what was the history
Where would
there?
book us? I don't know. What year was that? I don't know. Like,
This is your
This
life
was like
now.
early Untitled.
Yeah, so I remember doing a night at Room called Boom Boom, and it was like with everybody involved, and Sunday Fun Day was around that time.
Yeah.
So Treehouse days.
I went to that.
Yeah, Treehouse, yep. And what was that one at fucking that joint? Oh, top of, what was their biggest club called?
Anyway,
Yeah. What was that venue called again?
there
Palace?
was
Palace?
Metro, bro.
Metro.
It's
Yeah.
fucking Goatest venue in ever existed
Yes.
in the world.
Yeah,
I took
yeah.
one of the doors inside there for a couple of years.
Did ya?
Back in that. Remember when? Sorry, I'll get
No,
to
that was just around that time. So it was fucking nearly 10, it was 10 years ago now, I reckon.
Oh shit!
Very long time ago.
Did they knock down the Metro? Is that
Yeah.
what a
Travesty.
devastating?
Are they putting up a hotel there or something?
I'll tell you the yarn, fellas.
Yeah, what's the go?
Someone bought it. So Metro to me is like the most iconic space in Melbourne. It was just a beautiful venue. It was like you know, the best example, it's such an odd kind of version of it. But like, you know, when you're a little kid and you go in the forest at your mate's mum and dad's farm and you adventure. Metro was that for 18-year-olds. So there was just like so many rooms, and like as you got more important, they gave you another access to another room. And there was like fish bowls, and there was side panels you could walk through, and it would take you fucking months to discover the joint.
And there was just like the seats on the angle. What am I trying to say? Like stadium style seats.
Amphitheatre.
It was a giant theatre,
amphitheatre.
is what it was. But the best part, like on the side, they used to have like nowadays you'd never be able to have it. You could walk out 2 levels up and look down over there.
Yes, that was so good. I just love playing there for that because you'd look up and there's just cunts hanging off the roof. Like literally.
So sick. And it was like, it was like a adult play zone.
Yeah.
Someone bought it, and then they were Chinese or Asian developers. And then basically what they did was they wanted to change it, and they wouldn't give them the permits. They wouldn't give them the permits to build on it because they were like, well, no, they were working out if they were going to heritage list it. And they would have, 1,000,000% they would have heritage listed it. So they looked at it, and the fine was, don't hold me to it, I'll make up a figure here, but 150K. And they were like, fuck it, we'll just knock it down and get the fine because we're going to make so much money out of this build that we can afford to do it. So he's ripped the fucking thing out. No one got access to take stuff from it. Like, it got completely demolished. And then they're like, oh, sorry, whoopsie. And then they're like, we'll pay the fine. And they ruined this thing that I think is arguably one of the most iconic fucking venues of all time. That is one of the biggest travesties, in my opinion, that happened
I
to
fucking
our
hate that
culture
shit.
and scene.
I didn't understand that that's how it went down. You at least want to be able to get a nice crew of people who were rusted on there like you could.
They wouldn't have let them touch it, man. Like, we'd still be using it now. Like, and we should have. It was like a bigger forum.
Yeah.
And now there's this little sign on the side of the hotel that has some old photos and tells the history, and that's it.
Have you've clearly done a vlog
Crazy.
walking past that, surely?
I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to go back and watch that tonight.
Yes, I have.
But I love your, I know, going full circle here. I really, a little bit like the Spanian stuff like you were talking about earlier. I'll sit there and just zone out and just go, tell me about the days. Like I think it was one when I first discovered the vlogs you were doing. It's like you went into Saratoga.
Yeah.
That's going back for anyone who's from another state here. Saratoga was like this Thursday night. There was this dynamic in the Melbourne club scene. It was like a Thursday. It was uni night, or was it Saturday?
I'm pretty sure if you were 18 and had a real ID, you weren't allowed to go in there.
Yeah.
What? You're 18, you creep. Get out of here.
What are you doing here? This is for private school kids.
What? You're not? You're of age? You've got a car license? Get out of here, you creep.
Yeah. There was like these two worlds of clubs, wasn't there? It was like the private school kids from over at Bayside.
Yes.
Who were like Toga, Prince on a Saturday, which was unbelievable.
Oh, One
for a
Love,
long
fucking
time.
goat.
So good.
Do they still do the CDs? Do they still do the
I love
CDs?
CDs.
It's still a label. They still release music, but
Yeah. There was, and then there was the other side of clubbing. It was like, fuck. What were the other venues? It was that was the private schooly sort of.
it kind of
Bayside.
merged at one point. You sort of had, your Hawthorns and your Twisters and whatnot. And then there was like your One Loves, your Boutique Q Bars, and that was sort of private school. Then it merged, and then it kind of blew back out the back end. And then we had, because I'm representing those public school kids, but we had like TFU, Tramp, we had Corova, we had all these like underground recovery clubs that ran until midday.
Yeah.
Sometimes later.
Now all the photos had the same filter over them too. Oh, the black and white, or this real sort of ominous looking thing.
Dude, we had this one, and Veg 100% came. You definitely played. It was called Fake Tits on Fridays at Tramp.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I was working at Tramp during that period, but like there's a little bit of a yarn in that, but we basically, it was dead. It wasn't working. And we were trying to push house music at the time, which is sort of like the stuff that definitely inspired Dom.
Kids porno party.
Yeah, porno parties, yeah. And then we...
This is such a blast from the past.
I love it.
You know what's wild? Is that this is probably going to incriminate myself, but fuck it. So there's 10 licensing breaches in the last 20 years in Victoria. 3 of them are mine. So one of them was the Fake Tits porno party. Another one was a speed dealer party that I did at Empire. And the current one's Wet Pussy.
Clip that.
So anyway, when I was running Tramp, there was times like where it was fucking grim. So we used to do this one event called Debbie Does, but originally it was called Debbie Does Daytime.
Yeah.
So I used to run from 6 a.m. till 6 p.m. And then I would take on the Arvo shift, which was 12 till 6. Bro, fuck. You're like waking up clean in there and then like rolling up to Tramp at midday and then running till 6 p.m. shift. It was like some of the grimmest things I've ever seen in my whole entire life were going on in that venue. And then I couldn't even sit in there because like your eyes would dilate because you were coming in normal. And then I'd sit like just basically rocking myself after the PTSD of walking through that recovery club at the 7-Eleven, just waiting for the hours to tick by.
That actually makes me anxious to think about.
Yeah, same.
The idea of like doing that again. We've spoken about it.
Oh, no.
I can't even think about it or take myself there.
Nah.
It's fucking
The worst is like
terrifying.
catching the tram home and like after you've slowly started to come to your senses and you see people doing things like walking their dogs and running, like you're envious of them. You're like, oh fuck, I wish I just lived a normal life like that. How did I get tangled in this?
Do you know who I always kind of envied a little bit? I was like, I don't know how you blokes do this. The people that would come out on a Saturday night from the burbs and they'd party till the first train in the morning. Like the 5 or 6 a.m. train. Like, and it's,
That was
but
me.
it was just like every week, it's like, we can't afford a taxi home. It's going to be $150. So we just got it. And there's be so many nights where I'd like finish DJing somewhere. I might go to Tramp or wherever. And I'd just meet some random bloke, like maybe in the smokers or something. Like, oh, g'day, mate. Just one out solo, you know? And I'm like, what are you up to? He goes, oh, yeah, just waiting for the first train. I'm like, you've got another 2.5 hours, you know? Like, and like, they're like, yeah, I've also got, you know.
They're some of the cookest units, but like even I had mates who lived in the country. Like, so suburbs were hectic, but then they were worse. I used to play this game, which is so bad. Definitely not celebrating this. But whoever was the least fucked had to drive home.
Yeah.
And because of that, you can imagine the sorts they got into. And I was like, they'd be out for days. They'd end up sitting in a car park or a fucking in a garden somewhere in like fucking Fitzroy, waiting for someone to be remotely sober to get in the car. Like,
Oh God, that's so
park hanging
fucked.
post clubs been there, but that's another disgusting little thing I think that no one wants to talk about.
You were before we came on, we were talking about a mutual friend about you. Just mentioned the country again, Big Lee Glenister, who no doubt will be listening. One of the best men in the world. I love Big Lee. I'd love to put you and him on the same couch and just say, and just like, we just leave and you guys just take it from there.
Dude, the best thing is like any of those club guys, like why I love chatting to them. So I guess that's like my podcast is guys like Lee, it's just war stories. So when we catch up, it's like Palmer, beer, or it doesn't matter, coffee or whatever. And it's just 3 hours of us going, oh yeah, then this happened. Someone got stabbed in the head. And then this happened to us. And then it's like, remember that time when the guy jumped on the bottle and he went through his feet and there was like, oh, the colour of the blood. Ah.
So the context on Lee Glenister, he has a security company. He's big dude. He's like 6'6".
Yeah,
I'll preface all of this. Do you?
Yeah.
It's funny when you
introduced him before.
He's the inventor of high test, low test, thick wrist, small wrist.
Oh, yeah.
It was one night, I think I've probably already told this, we were like at Bar 20 where he used to have the security contract back in the day. When we were talking about Metro closing, and like, what, you didn't go in there with a chainsaw and take your bit of the bar like they did at Bar 20? Like, it was the best. So we were in there one day, one night, just having a casual conversation about politics or something. And this bloke, he's there, he's just drooling over the girl on stage and whatever. And Lee will just shuffle in his chair a lot in his very deep voice, as you remember. Okay, you see what he just picks people apart. He just profiles them in the best way possible. So the issue he's got here, Big Jim. It's got the low test. You can see it in the traps. He points at him. He's got no shame at all. The guy's like 5 minutes away from him. You can see it in the traps. You see, he's got the shit traps. And you see, you see his calves. You can see him under the. If you look under the shit, he's got the shit calves. It's not there. He's very.
That's a great impression, Lee.
LT.
It's funny when you said to me, you're like, oh, you know Lee. I'm like, who? You're like, Big Lee. I'm like, oh, Big Lee. If you don't, I think that's his full name. Fuck, he's big too.
He's someone like he's like a big brother to me. I love him to death. He's someone who would have that many fucking stories if you just sat him down and said, tell us about even just like 3 hours on King Street in Melbourne.
But I've got yarns about Lee that I won't tell. Yeah, like, so there's like things that happened. Like there was fucking giant wars that happened on King Street. Lee was heavily involved in them.
Yeah,
and
Lee will tell you.
Yeah, but there's a lot of things that I can't talk about. Like, so like even on my pod, people are like this stuff that he says is so wild and like all that my content. But I legit reckon my version is like M. Yeah, like so. And then there's MA18 plus, and like I luckily afterwards it's like we'll do the pod, and then afterwards they'll tell me the real stories, and they'll tell me some of the wildest shit, man. I could probably say some of these things, but I won't tell the stories. But like one is like there was an underworld criminal guy that stole a nightclub, took a nightclub off these guys. So they owed him a drug debt and he took them off. Can't say which club, can't say who was involved. And then these promoters were dealing with these guys and they sort of did this thing where they basically said, oh, we're not going to come on Saturday. You guys take it and rah, because the guy was trying to stand over him. And then after that, like that guy got killed and that's how they got the club back again. Then on second to that, there was time where a rapper from America tried to rip off a promoter. So the promoter who was a gangster pulled a gun on him. So it was like, there's all these fucking insane stories. And I'm like, hopefully down the track, I want to do like an adaptation or something like The Gentleman or something like that, where I can tell a lot of these stories in like a true-ish manner. But some of the best stories, and like you talk about me and Lee hanging out, if I was to sit with Lee online, we would talk about some cool stories, but like the best bits after the fucking cameras close and we get stuck into the stuff no one's talking about.
Probably
online,
would have to just do a little bit of legality stuff. And
not
I
even.
think some of that stuff's still happening, like from what you understand, because we always hear about these back in my day stories, which sound epic. But like, do you think I think that it feels like now's a little bit more watered down. I don't know. For
it's
me,
not happening.
Yeah, for me, yeah. What's
So
your
the take is it's CCTV is like what's killed it.
Got it.
Right.
So how connected we are, everyone's got a CCTV in their pocket / CCTV. It's like, you can't do this shit. So back in the day, you were, like you talk about Big Lee as an example, but like these guards, someone played up, they'd sort them out. There was things we used to have called sleepers. So sleepers were guards that you paid on the side to deal with people who were unruly so the security guys didn't lose their licenses. There was obviously normally an in-house drug dealer at most venues. At some point, they weren't paying back the club. Like that's sort of a bit of a urban myth in a sense, or it used to be, but like it died out a long time ago. But you knew they were there and you were probably buying drugs off that guy. Yeah. Like he was a part of your ecosystem. Second to that was all these intricate things like how you dealt with gangsters, or maybe some gangsters were buying boosts off you and they were the best spenders. So you were taking care of them. This sort of shit was able to happen because you didn't have scan tech, you didn't have CCTV. You were able to like toe that line. Whereas now they got to scan in, so they don't want to do that. So gangsters aren't going to come in anymore and spend their money because they're fucking under watch. If they are in there, the cops can come in. I've actually had it happen before where they come in and say, after someone's left, be like, burn us that CD, we want all of it. You know, like, and there's been clubs that have actually refused it. There was a guy who refused it and went to court, owned a club in Chapel Street not long ago, and he refused to give the CCTV over. Obvious reasons, right? It's either die or get in trouble from the cops. He chose B. And but these things now, like that's why they're not happening, because it's like, well, the risk of being in a room that's completely recorded, has digital scanning at the front and it's just too high risk. So what happens is you lose a lot of the bad and the good, because the bad kind of helps attract the good in a sense. You know, like you talk about nightclubs and it's like this dirty word. And I talk about this. This is something that's really interesting. It includes a big thing of Dom, right? $74 million currently goes into live music. So the government pumps that much money into live music. On these grants, it normally will say it can't be a venue that has DJs, or can't be a venue that is predominantly DJs. Right now, when you talk about the biggest artists from Australia, you bring up names like Flume, Dom Dollar, Fisher, Rufus, all electronic music artists, DJs, right? Why the fuck are we putting money into live music venues who currently are in a space where they're not really having that major of an impact of our cultural music scene abroad, but we're not giving back money to nightclubs who are basically fueling the expansion of Australian music artists? And the reason is because all the things I talk about, the drugs, the cultures, the fights, the gangsters that used to happen, is basically why they're not doing it, because we're like a dirty word. But the reality of it is, from all things that are bad, sometimes beautiful things come from them. So like, yes, all that stuff happens. And then that would create an economy. There was a lot of people going out. It created these like awesome communities. But what would happen there would be all this bad stuff where people love. But then the good side of that was guys like Dom, Fisher, Will Sparks, the list goes on in Melbourne, people that have blown up. They created these hubs and defined their craft, and they basically created something that blew up and was resonated overseas. It's like the bad overshadows the good in a sense, you know, like, but
Jeez, that's punitive.
Yeah,
I didn't understand that. You aware of that?
Yeah.
so I'm just like, why the fuck are we not heroing these things? And nightclubs are fucked. They're dead. Like, they're not even a thing. Like, there's one half busy one in Melbourne right now. Like, back in the day, there was King Street. Now I counted 6 people at 1 a.m. from inflation down to Trent.
That's crazy.
I was like, this is so grim. Yeah,
I
like,
think so. I haven't been out in about 5 years, so I'm probably like, culprit of that. But like, I was going to ask you that. Like, obviously, we've seen the scene go from what it was when some of these guys were coming up, fucking pandemonium on King Street, to what it is now. Why do you think that's happened? And do you think, more importantly, the question is, do you see any kind of way through that? Do you think it's ever going to be reborn?
it goes back to what I was saying about CCTV. So like all those, not so the CCTV, but the connection. So like why did you go to a nightclub? Like why did you used to go to nightclubs?
For me, it's friends, mates, love piss.
But connect and catch up, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And then what would happen when you connect and catch up is you create communities, you meet new people. Then that's why like music was born and like DJs get big and all this sort of stuff. So now I don't even do that. I've got a WhatsApp, I've got Facebook, I've got social media. Sorry, social media. Fuck, sound like a boomer. I've got Instagram, I've got TikTok, I've got Snapchat. I can talk to my friends at any given moment. Back in those days, if you wanted to catch up with your friends, like, yeah, you might post on social media, or prior to that, there was none. You would go out to mingle and meet people. Like, that's how you did. If you wanted to meet a girlfriend, most people our age, they met their partners out. That's not a thing anymore. So
That's
like
absolutely what it was for me. Yeah, 100%. Like you would, like for someone who wasn't even going to school, when you're in those early days of going out to clubs and stuff, I remember just itching, as you're saying, and I'm like, fuck, that's exactly what I was itching to get to Thursday even. Just let's go out. Then I'll see my friends, because you had your 32-10.
Yeah.
No, anyone who's not our age is not going to understand what the fuck I just said. But that was it. You'd have a few texts with some people during the week, like, just get me to Thursday so I can go out every day till everyone goes back to doing what we're doing.
So now you're constantly connected. But another one is that you can find a community quicker, which is probably a good thing, not a bad thing. So if I'm into Pokemon cards and I'm 28 years old, I can join Australian Pokemon card group and then meet these new guys and catch up at a cafe. Whereas beforehand, you'd have to go to, like, back they used to have beta clubs where you go there and play video games in nightclubs. Have you ever heard about that?
Nah.
Oh, they used to do them with Cheers and shit. It's like the nerdiest thing ever. Yeah.
At Cheers.
So they had
They had the swingers parties at Rooms. I remember that.
Yeah.
That room. Do you remember that room?
Yeah. Well, down the road, they used to have they were called beta parties, but it was basically like game consoles, and geeks would run it, and then other geeks could come hang out and like play Mario Kart and do whatever and drink alcohol and do geek type shit, I guess. But
That's
like,
sick.
But you couldn't. Now you just put on a headset and you sit in your mum's bungalow and play. You know, like. But back then, that's how you caught up with people. So as time's gone on, like the reasons why you used to go out, which is connection, community, you don't need that anymore. You can get access to it in your bedroom. So I don't think it's ever going to come back. Like that's the thing. And then the secondary part to it is so fucking expensive. So you go, I bought a 196 the other day and it was $16. I was like, what the actual fuck? Like that's insane. Like
That's nuts.
and how and why you could afford to do it once every now and then. Back then we were drinking $2 pots at Billboard.
Yeah,
you know, like, So you could go out 4 nights a week. Like you'd have to be a multi-millionaire now to go out 4 nights a week.
Yeah.
How much did you just say that 196 was?
$16.
Absolutely fucked.
Yeah, that's cooked.
I love that stuff.
Yeah.
That sucks.
But
Maybe
I used to pay-
I'm more surprised that you bought a drink, Danny, because you and I haven't paid for a drink in a nightclub in about 20 years.
I was also surprised, like when, because I was thirsty, and then no one was around, and I was like, "How much?" And it's like 30 fucking whatever, $2. I was like, $32. It's funny you talk about that though, because like I now work in liquor, and they're like, "What should we sell this for?" I'm like, I don't know. I don't pay for drinks. I'm like, what are they worth? Like, what's a skewy worth? I'm like, I don't fucking know. Like, are they free?
Where's Luke?
your drink. I've just forgotten the name of the vodka.
I've got heaps.
Ugly.
No, it's got not the WP
Ugly.
as well. Yeah, ugly. That because I brought a couple home with me after we did the Christmas Eve thing.
Oh, yeah?
My fiance Emma, she fucking loves them so much. She had a hens thing. She was doing all the catering and everything for. She got just boxes of the stuff.
Love that.
Loves it. She's absolutely addicted to it. So if you haven't tried it, anyone watching, listening,
What other products you got?
We got Sourpuss cans, which are humongous, like 8%ers, like little fucking pocket rockets. They're two standard drinks in a can. They're probably our best seller currently. We got Ugly, WP shots, which you know what that is. I call it, to call it the PC version now. We've got one called V Vodka, which is like a hospitality thing, but we don't really promote it. It's like we just sell it directly. It's cheap, but it looks good, and we sell it to hospitality venues. Got one called Eagle Ridge, which is in Coles, but like we don't promote that at all. And it's like it's just a cheap alternative for like 12% Woodstock. We have another one that is G Up, which is with Adrian and Troy and Co. And then we used to do grog, but we've moved on from that now. We're working on another one at the moment, which is called Cinnamon, which is like a cinnamon whiskey. We're working on another one which came out soon called Bush Pigs, which is like a toasted marshmallow whiskey that you sip on. It's like a sipping whiskey. So the list goes on. We've got all these other different things, but we're pumping shit out of time. But like we've got one brand, which is 80 proof, which we don't really hear it. And we've got all these extension brands. But I'm like, I work on I think we've got like 7 or 8 different types. And I reckon the next year we'll probably have 12. And I'd sort of do all the marketing and branding for all of them.
It's fucking nuts.
You got Harry Daniel down there, don't you?
You got big Has dog. He's the best, man.
He's a great man.
Yeah. I should have told him. I fucking was with him. I didn't tell him that I was coming down to see you.
That's right. I'll send him a little photo.
Veteran's just weird enigma sort of character. He's the coolest bloke in the world.
Well, Harry
don't ask him.
Well, Harry was Dom's touring manager. So again, which is kind of cool. So my company, 80 Proof Alcohol Company, I would not argue. I think it's pretty evident we are the biggest we're the biggest independent alcohol company outside, like in Australia, like no doubt. So like in the top 50 for Coles, for example. 4 of our product ranges are in the top 50 most sold in Coles.
That's amazing.
And every single other one, bar us 4, are all majors like Asahi, Coke and whatnot. So in that space, we sort of do really, really well. But what's interesting about our kind of model is that we're very disruptive. Like everything we do is sort of goes back to me talking about grey and whatever. Like we try to like toe the line all the time. And that's how we've been able to do things and be more adaptive and move quicker and, you know, be able to kind of get the jump on the majors because what takes them a year takes us a week. But our team that we're just built in our community, they're all club people. So we got Harry, who was Dom Dollar's tour manager for 2 years. We got Butters, who's a graphic designer, but he was a DJ, like resident at Circus for fucking 15 years. Jess, which is he's an own nightclub owner on suburban clubs. George, whose family basically owned King Street. Then you got myself, who's Mr. Rants a lot. And then you've got, who else is in our team? Our digital agency guys, or guys that worked underneath me for fucking years. Like they're called Sway now, but they were like promoters. So every single person in our world has or did work in nightclubs or has some connection to music, which I think is fucking awesome.
You're
so
talking about building that community thing back when you were, all of that. Who would have thought that it ends up, 15 years down the track, you're all back together again.
100, but even now, like our driver, like he's like still a prominent promoter now, and he does 2 days a week just because he's got nothing to do. So he drives. So we've got this awesome fucking club community running this company that's like well surpassed anything we ever did in nightclubs.
That's sick.
So good.
It's cool, eh?
I love
Yeah,
that shit.
it's just I think anyone listening would be like, "Fuck yeah."
I always say this, like from our generation of kind of guys that were involved in clubbing, probably 80% go on to do something fucking awesome.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, they're just all like driven, creative, a little bit crazy, very entrepreneurial. So I always find that like old promoters are always like the best business people.
Why do you
like,
reckon that is?
Just love cash. You go from $2 a head to no. I don't know. I think it's a personality type. Kind of what I said earlier. That it's that pursuit thing. Like you're really good at working with people. You understand people. You sell shit because mate, having to text the same group of mates to come out on a Tuesday, a Thursday, a Friday, a Saturday, and kick on a Sunday at St Kilda in the Arvo, like that's tough. That's like the best sales training.
100%.
It is and then because you have to think you go, all right, I'll give these guys a break this week, but I know that next week they got their footy ball, so I'll get on them then. Like you have to like literally you're a salesperson, right? And you might get 50 of them come down, make you $100, get your 10 drink cards, and you're fucking wrapped. That was a life, right?
I think it's also too like it's ever evolving. Like I run my company now, which is way bigger. I work with way bigger brands. And everyone's like, what was hard? Like, this must be way harder. I'm like, nah, not at all. So when you've got to reinvent the wheel in 5 days, every single week, that is so much harder. Like, we'll be sitting there going, fuck, it's Monday. Like, we'll shit on the weekend. What are we going to do this week? And you come up with some creative thing. You've got all these competitors that are trying to, like, fucking breathe down your neck and try and take your crowd away. Yeah. You're in this constant state of, like, emergency. And then on top of that, you've got all these things that I talked about. Like, you got people fucking drug overdosing that you got to try to figure out a way to like not have that happen. You've got gangsters trying to go in the doors. You've got DJs not rocking up. So it's like you're constantly in this spot fire mentality where you never know. You have to be so pivotal and be able to change at a drop of a hat. So I think that because that when you turn that into a normal lifestyle, they're like, well, there's nothing really you can throw at them. So if you're like, oh, we're going to change this marketing plan and we're going to roll it out in 3 months, they're like, whatever. I used to do that in 12 hours. Yeah. And so it's a real good breeding ground for entrepreneurial mindset because you come in young, you have to, because we're looking for people like that.
Yep.
And you've got to work in a space where you're super creative. You've got to think outside the box. It's sales driven. On top of that, you've got to create brands. It's the perfect sort of subworld to train in an environment that is like ever evolving. Like if you ran nightclubs for 3 years, you may create 15 brands and you've also ran fucking hundreds and hundreds of shows that are all different. They all come with different pieces of artwork and DJs and lineups and people and communities and rah. Then go put that into YoPro. It's like all of a sudden that's a lot easier than what you were doing prior, Like, but they're great, man. They're great business people.
Well, I had like 100 more questions, and I realized, how long are we going for? Are we keeping you too long here?
I don't even know what time it is.
Yeah, over an hour and 45, I reckon.
That's a brilliant time. We could go. It just places the emphasis again on keep coming on.
Yeah,
I'd love to just keep having you in. Like we'll go on yours. I'd just
100.
You're such a fucking great bloke. I just learned something. That's why there's these big pauses between. You'll rant and tell this great story and give this insight, and I'll sit there and I'm still just digesting how many fucking lessons were in that I don't know if it sounds like you are pretty aware now and getting more aware of how much impact that's having on people. But even me as a fucking 36-year-old now, like I've just learned so much from all that. And even hearing stuff about one of my best mates I didn't even know along the way there. That,
For me, this just sounded like a big conversation around a glass table.
Does anyone? I see that one of you booked an Uber before. I will bash you.
What people don't know is actually 6 a.m. and we were out fucking last night at the pub.
I'm starting to get emotional because it's all wearing off.
Yeah.
No, we'll wrap it there. But mate, thanks for coming in.
Yeah,
Legend,
thanks,
That
man.
was
Danny.
fucking
great.
awesome. Yeah.
Thanks, boys.
Thank you, mate.
See you later.
Oh, good
I was like going on a fucking.
Very good.
I was like,
Speech.
we were just actually having a chat, and I'm like,